example, a lot of us who have abandonment issues from, fathers or mothers, that a lot of times can then be projected onto the people that you build relationships with, platonic or romantic, because those loves are going to be the loves that are closest to the ones that you would have had or have had with your parents or with other people that have abandoned you in your life. And when we don't take the time to understand the root cause of why certain emotions or feelings or reactions we have with certain people is really stemming from the core root of the initial pain that was caused to us as children, then we lash out and we have reactions that are not only inconsiderate of other people and ourselves, but are not reflective of the things that took place to even cause that reaction to come out. For example, you could be in a situation with your lady, or if you a woman, you could be in a situation with your man's where he may do something and not text you for a time, and you may feel as though this man doesn't care for you, this woman doesn't care for you, they don't love you, just do because this thing didn't happen in the time period that you think it should have. But it's really because it's calling upon an abandonment that you have from a father or a mother or somebody else in your lifetime when they were meant to show up for you and they didn't show up for you. So you built up this callus that says whenever a similar pain is inflicted, that they are going to abandon me the same way that these people when I was a child abandoned me. And a lot of the times, I can't call every situation, but if you look, a lot of times, a lot of those situations are justifiable in the sense that either somebody's at work, somebody's busy, or some justifiable reason, as to why they weren't able to text you back or communicate with you in a timely manner, was the reason why they didn't, not because they were abandoning you, but because, like I said, that root pain comes from your childhood and it was never resolved. You then react from the place of a child when you experience that initial pain, not from the place of what's actually happening with that actual person and how they've actually treated you over time. And I myself, not in this specific example, but with other things in my life, have come to, within the last month or so, realize how a lot of my emotional reactions or how a lot of pain and hurt that I felt, whether it be in relationship, platonically, romantically, or familially, has actually been sourced at a different part of my childhood. Whether it be with, experiences that I've had with children when I was younger and, being treated a specific way, or whether it be other things that are rooted in different experiences that I haven't necessarily fully identified and really healed within myself. And I realize that now, especially as men, coming up into this time period and era that we live in, it is deeply imperative that we all take time to be able to sit with the root causes of the emotional pain and hurt that we feel. Because like I said earlier, a lot of the pain and feel that we feel present today, especially if it's chronic and persistent and consistent, doesn't necessarily stem from present time. A lot of times it stems from a past time in which we did not fully address it and heal that. So when it shows up in a different way today, which usually ends up being a trigger, then we react in a way that does not necessarily equal the moment in which it took place. And we don't equate our reaction to the relational equity that we have with the individuals that triggered this thing, because they're not the ones that shot us the first time. It was somebody else. But because we've seen that gun before, we fear that they will shoot us, and we pull the trigger on ourselves. And it causes us deep pain that then reverberates around everyone else that is in that particular moment with us. And as men who are called to steward and lead families, and just help people grow and nurture into the people that they're meant to be, it is deeply important that we are able to sit, process, and understand what the root cause of particular emotions that we're experiencing are coming from, so that when we meet those emotions, whether it be with a specific person, a place, or a time or thing, we meet it with what is actually necessary, not with a dump of traumatic emotions and experiences. And again, like I said, I myself have experienced this deeply. And as I come further and further into my own manhood and understanding of myself, I realized that a lot of the reasons why I met certain emotional moments with reactions that did not fit it was because I never took the time to just sit still to feel the emotions that I had, period. I couldn't not even really articulate, because I think a lot of us have the emotional language and intelligence to articulate what we feel, but to sit with it enough to understand it, feel it, and process it, to then metabolize it and release it, is a skill that we're not necessarily taught all the time. And as I come into a space of life where I'm being called to lead in different areas of life, being an uncle, a new godfather, and other things, I understand deeply the importance of, if I'm called to lead, children, whether they be my nephew or a godchild, or one day my wife, it is deeply important that I understand how to not just emotionally regulate myself, but how to emotionally receive myself so that I can be received in the way that actually matches the moment with other people. It is easy to receive and exchange the emotions of joy, laughter, and peace. The last one, peace, is a little bit more difficult, but it is a lot more challenging to do so with emotions that are rooted in something that is more painful: sorrow, regret, betrayal, abandonment, which is a big one for a lot of us. These are emotions that, if unchecked, and not necessarily unchecked, but if not taking the time to nurture in the sense of healing it, then when it is presented in the world, it will not be equally met with what actually takes place. And that is a lot of times what we see lashing out and a lot of other things that take place. So this is just a call for specifically men. My brother, when you feel what you feel, man, understand that it's not the only time that a man has felt that. It's not the only time that, one of us has felt misunderstood. It's not the only time that we haven't known what to do with that emotion. And it's not the only time that we haven't understood the best way to even move with that emotion. But understand now that it is okay for you to sit with that, man. Sit with it deeply. Even more importantly, and I know this isn't something that they told you to do, man, but feel that, bro. If you gotta cry, cry. And I don't say that in a cliche like, man, let them out, man, let your emotions out. But I say that from a space of, if you don't allow yourself to feel your emotions, how will you release them? To then create space to feel different emotions that are of more peace and joy, or really peace, because peace can be consistent. How can you feel more peace if you're holding on to different emotions of sorrow and pain and abandonment and fear and doubts and all these things that are just in your body? And then the only time that you let them out is when you're going to project them onto somebody else. There's always going to be collateral damage. You and another person, which is deeply unfair. And that's not something that you can do if you're looking to steward anybody, especially yourself. So first, man, I say, express them, man, in a healthy way. And in some cases, you got to sit with them yourself. No phone on, no TV on, no music on. And even some regards, like no books, like sit with it. Really have that conversation with yourself and journal it out. You must release and express the emotion. Even if you have to have a conversation with yourself and say, like, I feel hurt, I feel disappointed, I feel abandoned. Why do you feel that way? I feel that way because when X person did this, it made me feel this way. Okay, why did that make you feel that way? Well, it made me feel this way because in the past, when somebody did this, it made me feel as though that I couldn't be loved in this way. The more you ask yourself these questions to either validate or invalidate your feelings and get to the root cause of why you feel what you feel, the deeper you can go to actually understand, again, the root cause, to then address that deeply. When this person didn't text me back in a timely manner, it made me feel abandoned because, and this is just an example, my father said he would pick me up from school one day, and he was 2 hours late, and I had to sit in the principal's office by myself, and she barely spoke to me. And I felt in that moment deeply alone, which made me feel abandoned. So when I didn't receive this text, it may seem or sound a little crazy, not even crazy, but it may be hard to feel like it makes sense, but what you feel and what it's connected to makes sense in your body, and you feel it deeply. That feeling you get when you feel that pain of abandonment or fear or doubt or sorrow is physical just as much as it is mental. And if you don't allow yourself to experience both of those things, to release it, it will be retained until it has no choice but to come out any way that it can, because it's screaming to be released, which is why it's important to release. So cry if you need to cry. I've gone to mountaintops with my brothers, and not in anger, but just in release. We've yelled at a mountaintop. When something's funny, belly laugh. If it's that funny, smile. If you love somebody in the moment, tell them you love them. The emotions that you experience, release them and let them go in a healthy manner. That doesn't mean that every time you experience something, it needs to be shared or projected with somebody, but it does mean that you need to create a space to release it. And the healthiest way to do that is always going to be inaudibly saying it, whether it's in a conversation with yourself, I'm looking at the TV reflection myself, whether it's with yourself, or in journaling. You can say whatever you need to say in your journal, the way that you need to say it. Nobody will cut you off. Nobody will tell you you're wrong. Nobody will invalidate you. Nobody will look over your shoulder. Nobody will judge you. That conversation is strictly for you, yourself, and God. And you will be received in a way that you didn't think you could before. So when you come back to the conversation to emotionally articulate what you're experiencing, you can say it from a grounded place because you already had the conversation. And then you get to a point in life where you're able to process in that way, closer to in real time. So when something happens, you can make the determination, hey, right now, I'm not in an emotional space to communicate it, but do know that, I feel some type of way, but we are solid, and I would like to table this conversation for a later time, as opposed to, you never listen to me, you never this, you never that, you never that, you never that. Because a lot of times, when we lash out, man, I've come to find that, and it may sound silly, we really just want to be held in that moment. Being heard is being held. Being received is being held. Being physically held is being held. It's saying, I see you. I feel you. I see how this makes you feel. And I'm here for you in this moment. And I'm not leaving your side because I'm with you. You want to be held. But it's important that you get to a space and a place to where you can hold yourself first. People say it all the time, and sometimes it sounds very solemn, but you will always have yourself. I have a video of my brother when he was, like 18 or something. He super philosophical dude, love him, teaches me a lot. He said, birth to death, you always have yourself. And it's true. From the moment you come into this world, you have community, for sure. You have family, so to speak, but the way that they, present themselves in your lives may be different. And it may be not as whole as you need. I'm blessed to have a family that is deeply whole, but all of us don't. And for those of us that don't, or during the times in which we don't necessarily have access to family the way that we're used to it, you still got yourself. And it may sound silly, but if you hold yourself, tell yourself, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm grounded, I'm centered, I'll be here for you. And if you start to truly believe that, innately, involuntarily in your body, when you experience these things, you'll know that you always have love. Because love, it's not a choice, man. It's not a feeling. Love is what you are. You are created, regardless of the circumstances of what happened, with love. God covers you in love. You as a being are always love. You are in a consistent and constant state of love. And the more you're able to access it and feel it more naturally, the more you will be living from an overflow of love to where you will attract people and circumstances that reflect that. Everything that we experience, especially from a relational standpoint, tends to be from a mirror. That frustration, that argument that you have that you can't get over with your wife or with your lady, for whatever reason, is a mirror of something that you're also projecting. But if you're able to come to that conversation with love that is in you and in her, as much as you may disagree on something, you can come to understand them from a place of love for them. I may not agree, but I can understand why this makes you feel the way that it makes you feel. And I will change that because I want you to stay in a state of love. People think, once you hit 12, you're preteen and you're no longer a kid. We're all kids inside. We're all called to protect the children inside of one another. And this is something that one of my good brothers, Jonathan, shared with me. God calls us to the honor and the beautiful responsibility of loving the child in one another. Your wife, you're called to protect that little girl inside and love and nurture that little girl inside of your wife. It's shame if it's vice versa. Your wife with your husband, and even more so with your children. You're called to protect, nurture, and steward that child throughout their entire lives. Because that's God's job. We're just blessed to steward and facilitate their growth. Because just like you have you your whole life in God, they have them their whole life in God. So love on yourself. Continue to foster the love that already exists in yourself. And get to a place to where you live in such deep love with yourself that when you experience emotions that are difficult and triggering, you can sit with yourself to experience the fullness of them. With no interruption, no invalidation, no judgment, just love. So then when you come back to that conversation, you're doing it in love and mutual understanding. This feels like the part of the video where Brother Jason Wilson, I'm not editing that out, would say shalom. So I'll say shalom. And also I'll say, I love you. I see you. I feel you. And I hear you. Love you deeply, man. Proud of you. You're doing good. It's tough. But you're taking the time to really cultivate yourself in a way that will actually make the world a better place. Because you'll be living in your overflow. So every time you pour into somebody's cup, you still have enough for yourself to continue to pour out. So keep doing that, man. You're gonna be good, bro. Peace, love, and life.